Today, we're talking about a crisis brewing in New York's Jewish community. It's a community that's kind of being pulled in two different directions at once. You've got this really alarming surge in anti-Semitism from the outside, and at the same time, a huge political battle that's splitting it right down the middle.
And to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to start with this number, 1.6 million. That's how many Jewish people call New York City home. We're talking about the largest Jewish population of any city in the entire world. It's this incredible, historic center for Jewish life and culture.
But lately, a real sense of fear has started to creep in. After a mayoral election that was incredibly divisive, you have residents like Victoria Zerkiev saying things that are just stark, expressing this deep worry about whether there's even a future for them in the city they call home.
So how did we get here? How does a community that is so well known for its strength, for its resilience, find itself at what feels like a breaking point? Well, that's what we're going to unpack. Let's dive in.
All right, so the first piece of this story is an external threat. And this isn't about feelings or opinions. This is about the cold, hard data coming straight from law enforcement.
Get this, 214%. According to the NYPD, that's how much hate crimes targeting Jewish people skyrocketed in October of 2023 compared to that very same month just 1 year earlier. That's not an uptick, that's an explosion.
And you can see it so clearly on this chart. The number of incidents was already a concern, but then, look at October 2023. It shoots up to 69 reported crimes. This happened right in the immediate aftermath of the October 7th attacks, showing a dramatic and, frankly, immediate spike.
And here's the thing, this didn't come out of nowhere. Sources like the Anti-Defamation League show this crisis had been building for years. Incidents jumped 36% back in 2021. Then, in 2022, they hit the highest number the ADL had ever tracked. So the events of late 2023 were like pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning.
So what do you do about it? Well, community leaders and lawmakers got together, and their takeaways really show this is about people's day-to-day lives. They're talking about things like better monitoring of social media, beefing up security at community centers, and, a big one, making sure schools are properly teaching about Jewish history and anti-Semitism.
Now, this threat wasn't happening in a vacuum. At the exact same time all this was going on, an internal political earthquake was hitting, creating these deep new divisions right inside the community.
And that earthquake was the election of Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani. He became New York's first openly anti-Zionist mayor. As a longtime activist for Palestinian rights, his win was a seismic shift. It was a direct challenge to the city's long-standing tradition of pro-Israel leadership.
And right at the heart of this whole debate is Mamdani's support for the BDS movement. It is a deeply polarizing issue. Supporters see it as a legitimate, nonviolent form of pressure. Opponents, on the other hand, argue that it singles out the world's only Jewish state and often crosses a line.
And this table just lays out how stark the contrast is. For decades, the New York political consensus was strong support for Israel as a Jewish state. Mamdani says he's just not comfortable with that. BDS, traditionally condemned. He calls it a legitimate movement. It's a complete break from the past.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. His positions landed very differently depending on who you asked. A Guardian poll from 2025 showed this huge generational divide. A striking 67% of Jewish voters under 44 supported him. That signals a major shift in Jewish political thought.
So you've got these two massive forces crashing into each other. This rising threat of hate from the outside and this deep political crack forming on the inside. The crucial question is, what happens when they collide? Well, one response has been a big push for new laws from the top down. The state Senate's working group proposed a whole slate of legislation, things like defining anti-Semitism in state law, seriously increasing security funding, and holding universities accountable.
And this has basically created two competing visions for how to move forward. You have the establishment approach, which is all about legislation, more security funding, working with law enforcement. And then you have the activist realignment, which is about fundamental political change, building new coalitions and challenging that old pro-Israel consensus.
For many, like Rabbi Elliot Cosgrove, and he's not alone, over 1,000 other rabbis signed on with him, Mamdani's election isn't just a political disagreement. They see it as an actual existential threat to the safety of New York's Jews.
But for others, especially younger, more progressive Jews like Ayana Leon Knauer, his victory is a good thing. It validates their values. They feel the fear is being used as a political tool, and they completely reject the idea that being critical of Israel is automatically a threat to their safety.
And then there are so many people caught right in the middle of it all, just wrestling with their identities. I mean, imagine being that voter. You're trying to weigh your progressive values, what's best for the city, and your connection to the Jewish community and Israel all at the same time.
The reaction to Mamdani's win has been so intense that it's created this little cottage industry of recruitment. Seriously, other cities in Texas and Maryland, and even officials in Israel, have started actively inviting Jewish New Yorkers who might be thinking about leaving the city. So, all of this leads to a pretty fundamental question about what's next for this historic and influential community. It's really standing at a crossroads.
And from this crisis, you see two competing instincts emerging. There's the impulse to leave, to go find safety and comfort somewhere else, and then there's the impulse to stay, to dig in, to fight, and to redefine what it even means to be a Jewish New Yorker right now.
So ultimately, will this moment of intense pressure shatter the community, or will it actually forge it into something new, maybe something more complex? The battle for Jewish New York, it isn't just about politics or safety. It's a battle over identity itself. And the answer to that question is still being written.